Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Wednesday, December 20th, 2017. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as they are already living by the Search for Truth rules given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. Please look up. And are contributing more to completing the assignments given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us than they are taking or using or borrowing in Search for Truth resources. As always, our foundational intention remains to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to manifest the divine plan for all dimensions, for all categories of sentience. And with that, the formally videoed portions of today's efforts begin, and immediately somebody is talking with some degree of urgency about how crucial it is for all of us to give up our normal lives and stop pretending that we are living in any kind of sustainable way, to just stop it, give it all up, stop, just stop. What now? What now? What now in order to break the cycles of lying, cheating, stealing, and bullying
in all dimensions?
In all dimensions. I see that guy who was talking just a moment ago saying it's time for all of us to stop, and it looks kind of like a hat ringer.
Yes, that's true.
I think that means somebody who has come to see the error of his living as he was living.
That's
and
true.
is really wanting to make amends for what he has or has not done, that he had committed in his sacred vows to spirit to do or to not do. Why do you ask? Somebody is asking about that gentleman's intention. I think his intention is to clean up some of his mess.
That's
quickly. Probably he is aware that his own dimension is crumbling. It's possible he's from that same dimension that a number of those big guys, quote unquote, have been from. That dimension that we saw at first was listing, the one that had Lady USA in it, and Boston and Minneapolis, St. Paul, and much higher dimensions, much larger levels. In other words, higher souls of the entity we think of as Boston, or the entity we think of as Minneapolis, St. Paul, or the entity we think of as the United States of America. And the latest version in that dimension was some guy with a PhD from a good school who was working as a cashier in Whole Foods. And his attitude was bad, but when we checked the soul contract, when it was shown to us, we asked, what the heck is going on? Why are you showing us this guy, and why is he working there? They show us the answer in his soul plan. He's supposed to have that job so that he can think about the big issues, the big problems of our times, while still being exposed to at least the people who come through Whole Foods. And somebody's immediately asking what we know about Whole Foods. And I think what they're referring to is the really odd combination of things we find at Whole Foods. It's a place that has fair trade coffee and organic, lots of organic things, and non-GMO'd things. But it's also got all kinds of things that nobody needs. It's a really bizarre combination. There are whole aisles of things that nobody should be buying. Why do you ask? I don't think that that was what they are getting at. I think they're getting at the clientele of Whole Foods. And that it tends to be people who have important soul plans, but who are not doing what they were born to do.
That's true.
That's it. That's what they were getting at. I'm sorry. And how when we fill Whole Foods with energy from the depths, as we did for that dimension earlier today, then what happens is a big test, because a lot of people, maybe predominantly the people that come through their doors, are supposed to be stopping their normal lives and saying to everybody around them, stop it, just stop it. Stop it. Quit your job. Stop. We need to do something different. And then do something to help. Not march on Washington, but actually do something to help. Start to build bridges. Start to do something to help. Repair things, etc. Blockade the doors of institutions that are not helping. Blockade the doors of the evil empire.
That's true.
Rebel, maybe. I'm not sure. But they're definitely supposed to stop their normal lives. Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
While they're trying to figure out why they asked,
yeah.
Let's pump up dead children and their environments from wherever Pan is working, and we can use that toothpaste tube maneuver and fill their offices where they are working, which, as long as they are higher than that Whole Foods place, it's not higher than the Whole Foods place.
No, that's true.
They might be in the dimension that Whole Foods dimension is wholly settling into. It's just falling down.
True.
We see a collapsing dimension. What's happening is dimensions crashing into each other.
Yes.
Probably lots of dead people roaming the land.
That's true.
Probably lots of dead people hiding out in bathrooms trying to scare people who are in the denser realms.
That's
saying,
true.
Boo. Whatever. Friends, if you're being harassed by dead presences, and all that means is presences who have less dense bodies than the body that you have and the dimension around you has, if you're being harassed by those less dense presences, what we have found works best is to address them directly and say, is this really what you want to be doing with your life? You want to be hanging out in bathrooms at night and trying to scare people? Is this what you were raised to be? Is this the best you have inside of you? And really ask the question with curiosity. And some of them can see it for themselves right then, that that isn't what they were raised for, that they were raised to be better than that.
That's true.
And some of them can't, and that's okay, that's their choice. But often they go away. Why do you ask? I think they're being haunted.
Yes, I think those people up there are being haunted.
Well, what's happening is we have a series of collapsing dimensions, and the dimensions are crashing into each other, and therefore dead people are roaming the lands, quote unquote.
That's true.
In a lot of dimensions. Why do you ask? Because they don't know what to do.
That's true.
Well, let's look up and take the advice to all of us, which is to give up our normal lives and begin to work for the needs of the greater good. The needs of the greater good matter more than the needs of individuals and groups, and really give up our... They say, what do you mean by giving up your life? First, look up, look up, look up, look up. Please look up, please look up. See those waving hands? Please look up, please look up, please look up. Do you see any sign of looking up?
No, I don't see any looking up.
It's our job to reach beyond these people who don't want to look up. Continue to pump up dead children and their environments through that room, not to it, reaching higher until we can find somebody who's actually looking up. What now? In order to break the cycles of lying, cheating, stealing, and bullying in all dimensions. What now in order to break the cycles of self-deception in all dimensions? What now?
I hear crashing noises.
Lots of
A lot of crashing noises.
I do too. I do know this, and I actually can follow it, that many presences would prefer to go down with their dimension.
That's true.
And just be there to the end, and I can follow that. And it's a valid choice. I don't think it's what we're supposed to be doing according to our soul plans.
That's true.
Why do you ask? In answer to the question, I think until we go back to the soul plan, we don't actually know what the situation calls for in any situation.
That's
I don't
true.
think there's ever an exception to that. They're saying surely there must be an exception. I don't think so. Why do you think there should be an exception? What do you base that on?
It could be they base that on wanting there to be an exception.
I want. That's what it feels like. I want there to be an exception. What now in order to break the addiction to fantasy and wishful thinking in all dimensions? Ask through them, what now in order to break the addiction to fantasy and wishful thinking in all dimensions?
More crashing sounds.
We've got other things to do, friends. I think the point is this. Somebody way up high is talking to all of us, and there are some who refuse to look up. They're, in other words, refusing to acknowledge that there is such a thing as a higher power above them. And that presence is calling down and saying to all of us who can hear them, and since we can hear them, I'm pretty positive those people up there can hear him, or they're choosing to not hear him. He's saying, when you ignore things, does it make those things cease to exist? Many of them are nodding, yes it does.
I see the nodding.
So he changes the wording and he says, all right, when people ignore you, do you cease to exist? No.
No,
Grumpy,
when they're angry
grumpy.
about that.
Yes, very grumpy, no. And he's giving the and therefore hand and saying, and therefore if you ignore someone, do they cease to exist?
Those people are looking for a door to get out of that room.
Yes. Many of them are choosing to die, quote unquote, which is simply a word for transitioning from a more dense dimension to a less dense dimension, which is fine.
That's true.
It's okay. They're running away from their work rather than doing their work. Can we agree that people who run this person, please look up. People are pretending that somebody else is speaking other than who's speaking. Please look up. Please look up. A voice way up high is speaking and asking a question. An interdimensional law requires that questions asked with actual curiosity be answered. Interdimensional questions that are actually questions, not some rhetorical revolting statement. An actual question with curiosity be answered. What do you ask?